Well then, we have managed to get through the preface, of course with the deal of noble suffering, but also with honey of giving being applied to our wounds as we have battled with this text. We shall continue with the first essay, Good and Evil, Good and Bad. We'll be covering the first 4 chapters, and this time I'm going to improve my content by actually quoting the pieces of text that I think is the most crucial in each chapter. And so we go. And in the first chapter, with the very first sentence, Nietzsche just describes the English psychologist as just the experience to his history of the origin of morality. As again, just how much good Nietzsche thinks about the English philosophers. But though he gives them quite a credit, as Nietzsche says that one always discovers them voluntarily or involuntarily the same task, namely dragging the partie hontiusie of our inner world into the foreground and seeking the truly effective and directing agent, that which has been decisive in its evolution, in just that place where the intellectual pride of man would least desire to find it. This vis inertiaria of habit, for example, or in forgetfulness, or in a blind and chance mechanistic hooking together of ideas, or in something purely passive, automatic, reflexive, molecular, and thoroughly stupid. And so with this prospect, Nietzsche just wonders what drives this man to such peculiar observations about human nature. Is there doing the work that a man who has pride, a man of decent taste, would not really search truth in such dirty little places in human nature? But he still commends this fashion of these English psychologists, as they are actually quite perseverant about the truth. They're just doing it in a quite peculiar and strange way that confuses Nietzsche. Just what's the deal with them? But still, and so Nietzsche actually calls them, quote, "But I am told they are simply old, cold and tedious frogs, creeping around man and into man as if in their own proper element, that is, in a swamp." So it might have been clear from before, but Nietzsche really views English psychologists and philosophers as pepes, the said frogs, who are disseminating across the people, who are being dispensed around people, just as these little white supremacist frogs are in the Twitch chats. As Nietzsche also gives the credit to English philosophers, English psychologists, in doing precisely what the enemy does to the normal people, bringing forth the shame of their inner world into the foreground and exposing it, finding something interesting in it. In the second chapter, Nietzsche points out just what exactly is wrong with the English psychologists. He says that their work lack the historical spirit, the historical just the historical common sense, as Nietzsche proffers an excerpt from some English psychologist, where it is said that the value of goodness is being, as they describe how the anegoistic sense of goodness comes from a human doing something which is considered by other people good, and then this person who has done the good to the public is just being forgetful of what of the other people, and thus presenting itself as the sole agent in this being good. And so this is what Nietzsche really doesn't like, as he says, one sees straight away that this primary derivation already contains all the typical traits of the idiosyncrasy of the English psychologists, who have utility, forgetting, habit, and finally error, all as the basis of an evaluation of which the higher man has hitherto been proud, as though it were a kind of prerogative of a man as such. This pride has to be humbled, this evaluation disvalued. Has that end been achieved? As again Nietzsche saying that these damn normie Christians and Englishmen are encroaching on the higher type of man who is actually creating values, but these plebeians are actually devaluating, just emaciating our poor noble spirit. As Nietzsche continues to explain this point of view, that the goodness actually comes not from the other people who call an individual good or their actions good. It comes actually from the aristocratic noble type of man who actually define what goodness is with their noble status, with their pathos of distance. And I really like this part because it says that the values are being created. The values are being created not by themselves, but from existence, from being a human being as well. And so Nietzsche proceeds with his thoughts even further, as he also imparts just how the language was created as the tool made by the rulers to express their power. This is just an attack on Heidegger and with his we do not speak the language speaks through us kind of thing. And I like it more in Nietzsche way, as just Nietzsche being beyond egoistic and not egoistic, with the values being created by the noble ones actually. Nietzsche also points out in the third chapter that this English view on the good value also does not hold for consideration that in this described system of things, the unegoistic action is stipulated to be forgotten. And Nietzsche wonders just how is it possible, just how does this forgetting of your act being evaluated by somebody else is being forgotten, as I don't think this forgetting has the same level of profundity as, for example, in Heidegger in his authentic temporalizations. So yes, of course I'm on the Nietzsche's boat here. You should not forget the things that you have experienced with your homies who have called you good. You should be unegoistic about it. And in the last chapter for today, Nietzsche continues to explain what's wrong with English psychologists and with Englishmen in general, as they proliferate plebeian values all across the world. As Nietzsche says that even in the very beginning of the chapter, that the real question should be posed: what was the real etymological significance of the designations of good coin in the various languages? As he doing the same thing here as in his previous book, The Beyond Good and Evil, as he was lambasting, walloping Kant on his own kind of question about the artificial judgments. What's the deal with them? But here Nietzsche shows that basically in all languages the word good means something of the noble kind, of the noble nature. And just how much this concept of goodness has been distorted with the advance of plebeianism in Europe, as something aristocratic, noble, higher is now considered bad, and the word of good instead of holding an aristocratic meaning now disdains the noble spirit, as in Nietzsche's perspective it has become the word of the masses. And we can kind of see it today with all this privilege onslaught that is popular today. We may experience something about the devaluation of the noble values for the sake of something else. How good or bad it is not the topic for this kind of video. And so we have finished up the 4 chapters of the first essay on the genealogy of morals. Well, it has been those 4 chapters were each like a candy. I really enjoyed them, and I think my diction is improving, just like my honey of giving is brewing. I hope that the quality of my videos will be increasing with time, as I shall endeavor to do so. And I hope you have had quite a good time with us, with what's on the screen and what's on the background.